Y'all, Victor Logan coming at you with another video. Um, I wanted to post this up before I start getting ready to go to work because this thing landed on my news feed, and I only just recently start really getting active in Facebook and Instagram to a lesser extent. But this thing just caught me off guard, so I just really felt like I had to speak on it. So I don't know exactly when this came out, but the news feed was showing me a video of these two women who were getting at some airline employees, I think they're from JetBlue, about wearing a mask. So apparently, the JetBlue crew refused these two women from boarding a plane because they would not wear a mask. And as a byproduct of that, these two women went on a rampage. They barked and screamed and, you know, demanded, you know, that these people answer for the audacity of telling them they can't get on a plane. And so, this went on and on and on for a few minutes. And I guess finally the police came and the two lady walked off. I guess they thought they were going to get arrested. And then the police officers, I guess in their infinite wisdom, decided not to arrest them. But long story short, these two women did not get on a plane. All right. Now, I bring this up because, once again, there's a lot of people out there that have a misconception of the reality of certain things. All right. In particular, these two ladies was talking about, this isn't China, we're not living in China, and, acting like, you know, that you're free to do whatever you want to do. Here's something that you guys need to understand. If you're a person who refuses to wear a mask because of freedom, here's a quick lesson for you. Freedom isn't free. Let me say that again. Let me say that one more time. Freedom is not free. Okay? You can quote Constitution, you can scream about your rights and all this other stuff, but freedom is not free. There is a cost to pay for freedom. All right? Before the pandemic, we were free to get up out of our beds in the morning and go around and do whatever we have to do, engage with our people, live our lives, and, have the luxury of going back to bed, waking up in the morning, and doing the cycle all over again. Now that we have this thing going on with this pandemic, we don't have that luxury anymore because this pandemic is not like anything we've ever experienced. At least it's not like anything I've experienced in my adult life. All right? This is some real stuff. And I'm speaking from my own personal experience where I've known multiple people who have lost their lives through this. All right? One of my own family members almost lost their life to this. All right? So I take this thing very, very seriously. Okay? And I know some people are out there talking about it's a conspiracy, whatever. 5G, whatever. Listen, bottom line is this. It doesn't matter what was the cause of it. It doesn't matter if this was man-made and it was used to undermine our country or hurt us or whatever the reason, it's still here. And we have to deal with it. And one of the best ways to deal with it, according to the people that know better than the rest of us, is by wearing a mask. Now, obviously, there are some situations where maybe a mask might not be a viable option. But for the most part, it is very viable. And the logic is, once again, that they tell you, don't assume that it's somebody else that you're trying to protect yourself from. Assume that you have it, and so you're trying to protect everyone else. It's sort of like when you get a driver's license. The driver's license gives you the responsibility of being mindful of other drivers. It's not about other drivers having to be mindful of you. And of course, if you've driven on the streets here in the city, you already know that, people don't care. People do whatever they feel like doing, and everyone else be damned, which is truly reckless and selfish. And this really is what you are. You are revoking a person's freedom by refusing to do the simple thing of wearing a mask. You think to yourself, can you imagine if everybody lockstep wore a mask for 2-3 weeks did their social distancing, did their self quarantines and all this other stuff, and try to act like responsible human beings. This wouldn't even be a discussion anymore. You know, this thing probably would have just come and gone just like this president said it would. But no. Every time you think you're making a breakthrough, there's somebody that has to be different. Somebody has to be free. And these two ladies, they decided that that's what they want. And so the airline people, in their infinite wisdom, refused these two ladies to get on a plane. Now that's what I gathered from the video. Here's something else that I think people don't understand, and I want to be clear about this because there's a lot of stupid folks out here that think, oh, well, you're violating my rights. You're violating my constitutional rights. Let's be clear about this, and I'm going to give you a quick explanation as to why I say this, but I just want to say this to all of you out there who feel away. Flying is a privilege. It is not a right. The Constitution gives you the right to freely travel. Doesn't say how you do it. And of course, the Constitution is old, so there was no thought of airplanes when the Constitution was being put together. Right? There was no thought of cars or trains or buses when the Constitution was being together. But it does imply that you have the freedom to travel. But the airline industry is a private industry. It is not a public thing. All right? I give you a perfect example. Let's say that you're somebody who does not like to fly. And so you need to take the edge off. So you go to the bar. Have a couple of drinks. Maybe a little bit more than you should have. When it's time for you to board the plane, the airline people see you stumbling around, slurring your speech. They're not sure what's wrong with you. They don't know if you're having an epileptic seizure or if you're having a diabetic episode or if you're just a person that's having fits or maybe you're drunk. They don't know. And at that point, it is no longer their responsibility to make a determination as to whether or not it's safe for you to get on the plane. If you're stumbling around, slurring your speech and bumbling into people, they've already made that snap decision. You're not getting on the plane. You're not. Most of them are pretty cool on the side, and they'll tell you, I'm sorry, sir, you can't get on the plane. And then they just wait for, it to go from 0 to 100. Some of the really smart ones have already picked up the phone before you even got to the counter, called the police, told them, listen, we have somebody, we think they might be drunk, and we're afraid we're going to have trouble, so we'd like you to be on standby so that when we refuse them access to the plane, there won't be any trouble. And I've seen this on more than one occasion where the police have come and calmly spoken to a passenger who, of course, gets wild and gets crazy, and then the police carry this person off. Flying is a privilege. It is not a right. So when these two ladies start screaming about, wearing a mask, I'm thinking to myself, number one, you are just ignorant and irresponsible. And number two, like a lot of other people who think they have rights and freedom, the airline doesn't care. If the airline thinks that you're going to be a risk to the rest of the flying public, they're not going to take on that liability, especially now, where the airline industry is taking a major hit, because of this pandemic. And you think these people are going to risk the lives of everybody else just because you want to be free to not wear a mask on a plane? No. It's not about you. And these airline employees, they did the right thing. They just said, no, sorry, you can't fly. If you don't want to wear a mask, you can't get on the plane. Because just like somebody who's drunk, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what you're going to do. You might just get stupid and storm the cockpit, or you might try to open up one of the emergency exits, or you might let your bodily fluids fly all over somebody because you can't hold your liquor and you just threw up on somebody. Nobody wants that. That's all liability that the airline industry is trying to avoid. So they're not trying to let anybody on that plane that's going to potentially pose a risk, especially some two dumbass women who think that they can get on a plane and fly and not have to wear a mask and then scream about freedom talking about this ain't China. You're right. This is not China. And you don't have a right to fly. Trust me on this, folks. You don't have a right to fly. It is a privilege. And if you don't believe me, go and show your ass in one of these airports one day. Just do it. Just for kicks and giggles. I don't know why you would do it. That would be stupid. That would be a waste of your time. But just go ahead and test the waters and see what happens. See how quickly the airline will be like, yeah, we got your money. You ain't got a seat, though. Sorry. Maybe try tomorrow. That's really all I wanted to say, guys. So if you have family or if you have friends, who feel like, their constitutional rights are being violated, especially when it comes to these things like wearing a mask, just politely remind them, freedom is not free. A lot of what you think are your rights are privileges, and they can be taken from you just like that. Just like what's going on in the city right now. Everyone thought they had a right to go to a bar and then start congregating at that bar as the bar opens up, even though we're still in the middle of the pandemic, until the state revokes the liquor license. Now what? All you people who were so selfish and so irresponsible, who felt, well, you need to get a drink and you need to be rubbing shoulders with people and you're not wearing a mask, and everybody sees you're not wearing a mask. And so what does the city do? The city's like, so we were doing good. We start flattening the curve, but now all y'all people is acting like ain't nothing happening. We're still in the middle of it. So now we're gonna revoke this liquor license. So now you don't have no reason to go back there. Your freedom is not free, people. You can call it whatever you want. You can call it China. You can call it Soviet Union. You can call it whatever you want to call it. But when you act in a certain fashion that undermines everybody else's ability to be free, you're not a patriot. You're not a true American. If we can actually say that. You're an enemy of the state. Those two women that screamed about not being able to fly, as stupid as they looked on there, for a brief moment in history, they were an enemy of the state. They were against the best interests of everybody else in this country. For all them folks that go on around having these COVID-19 parties to see who gets sick, okay, you are not a patriot. You are an enemy of the state. And to all those folks that have to be in the bar, that have to go to the stores, that have to do all these other things, refusing to wear a mask because freedom, you are an enemy of the state. You are doing everything in your power to undermine a country's ability to get back on its feet. You know how many people have lost their jobs? Never mind the people that have lost their lives. You know how many people have lost their jobs because people like these two ladies refuse to wear a mask? We are in an economic downturn unlike anything we have experienced in the last 10 years. And there's a very real possibility it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. All for a lack of common sense. You don't have to wear a mask. You can throw a scarf on. Anything. Anything that's going to slow down the transmission of this shit that comes out of your face. But you don't even want to do it. Because freedom. Well, I know one thing though. Anybody that decides now, if I'm not working with those people or if I don't have to deal with them directly, if you come at me without a mask on and you start throwing your stuff in my face, I'm going to tell you, yeah, your privilege to get that close to me is now revoked. It's over for you. Anyway, guys, that's it. Damn, it's almost 15 minutes. I got to figure out a way to cut these things down because I'm just stupid with it. Anyway, thanks, guys. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you have a wonderful and safe and blessed day. Hug your family. Love your children. Do whatever you got to do because nothing is promised to us. All right? Until next time, God willing, come check me later.